The moment a man snapped his fingers inches from my face and called me IT girl. He had no idea he was about to destroy his own company. That sharp sound still echoes in my memory. Not because it startled me, but because it marked the exact second everything changed. It was not just rude, it was careless. And in my world, careless decisions come with consequences that most people never see coming. My name is Claire Bennett, and I do not fix Wi-Fi. I design the invisible systems that entire companies depend on to survive. I build the backbone of buildings, the silent architecture that keeps data flowing, temperature stable, and operations alive. Most people never think about it. They walk into an office, open a laptop, and assume everything just works. They never wonder who made it work. That day, I was seated at a polished conference table on the 37th floor of Skyline Tower, reviewing a dense infrastructure schematic. The room was bright, the kind of clean, modern glass space designed to impress investors. Spread out in front of me were pages detailing a cooling system upgrade that would keep an entire server floor from overheating during the brutal summer months ahead. It was precise work, delicate and technical, and I was deep in concentration when I heard it. Snap, then again, snap. A voice followed, lazy and entitled. "Hey, Earth to IT girl." I did not look up immediately. I finished tracing the route of a critical fiber line with my finger, mentally confirming the redundancy loop I had designed years earlier. Only then did I slowly turn my chair. Standing there was a young man in an expensive fleece vest, the kind that tries very hard to look casual while quietly screaming money. His name was Ethan Caldwell, 26 years old. His job title was something vague and inflated, something like Director of Innovation Strategy, which really meant his father sat high enough in the company to open doors for him. He gestured impatiently toward the glass conference room behind him, where several identical men in identical vests stared at a frozen video call. "The Wi-Fi is broken," he said. "Fix it. We have investors waiting." I studied him for a moment, then spoke calmly. "I am not IT support. If you are having connection issues, you should submit a request through the proper system." He laughed, loud and sharp, like the idea itself offended him. "I do not submit requests. I tell people to do their jobs. You are sitting here with a laptop, so fix it." There was a time in my life when that kind of attitude might have rattled me. But at 45, after decades of building systems that people like him relied on without ever understanding, I had learned that something important, calm, is power. I turned back to my documents. I am busy, I said, and I do not have access to your local network anyway. That was when everything shifted. He slammed his hand down on the table so hard my coffee rattled. The entire office fell silent. Conversation stopped, keyboards froze. Every eye turned toward us. "I am sick of this attitude," he shouted. "My family pays a fortune for this place, and I cannot even get basic service. You are useless." Then he pointed toward the door. "Get out. You are fired." For a moment, I just looked at him. Not in shock, not in anger, in curiosity. It was fascinating in a detached, almost clinical way, to watch someone make a decision so completely disconnected from reality. "You are firing me?" I asked evenly. "Yes," he snapped. "Get your things and leave now." I stood up slowly, closing my laptop with deliberate care. I did not argue. I did not explain. "Understood, music," I said. Then I walked out. I simply gathered my folder, leaving one document behind on the table, the unsigned infrastructure renewal contract. "Understood," I said. Then I walked out. As I stepped into the elevator, I caught a glimpse of him laughing with his colleagues, basking in what he thought was a victory. He believed he had asserted authority. What he had actually done was sever the very systems keeping his company alive. He just did not know it yet. By the time I reached the lobby, I had already decided how this would play out. I nodded to the head of security as I passed, then stepped outside into the afternoon air. Across the street, I ordered an espresso and took a seat by the window, watching the building I knew better than anyone else. 10 minutes later, the consequences began. Upstairs, a building manager named Daniel Harris walked into that same conference room carrying a bottle of champagne. Ethan, still riding the high of his outburst, music answered casually, "Over, I fired her." He had been preparing to finalize a major lease extension, one that would secure the future of that company for years. He asked a simple question, "Where is Claire?" Ethan, still riding the high of his outburst, answered casually, "Over, I fired her." Everything stopped. Daniel stared at him, confusion giving way to something much closer to panic. "You did what?" "I fired her," Ethan repeated. "She could not even fix the Wi-Fi." Daniel went pale. "Claire is not IT," he said slowly. "She is the infrastructure director. She controls the building systems, the fiber, the cooling, the access protocols. Without her, this entire floor does not function." That was the moment the first crack appeared in Ethan's confidence. Down at my office on the 4th floor, far from the polished glass suites, I sat at my workstation surrounded by humming servers and quiet control panels. Elevator priority access reverted to standard. No more instant rides to the top. They would wait like everyone else. This was the real heart of the building, not the conference rooms or the fancy offices. This room. I opened the system dashboard. I was not angry. Anger clouds judgment. What I felt was clarity. Ethan had made his wishes very clear. He did not want my services, so I removed them. The first change was subtle. Elevator priority access reverted to standard. No more instant rides to the top. They would wait like everyone else. Then I disabled their freight elevator clearance. Their incoming equipment shipments would have no easy way up. Then came the critical adjustment. The dedicated cooling system for their server room shifted from high priority to base level. Without that specialized system, he would begin to build slowly, quietly, relentlessly. I was not sabotaging anything. I was simply restoring the building to its default state. My phone rang. It was legal. "How bad will this get?" the attorney asked. I glanced at the temperature readings starting to rise. "Very uncomfortable," I replied. By late afternoon, the system alerts began flooding in, server temperatures climbing, network latency spiking, security access failing. Ethan finally emailed me. Subject line read urgent. The message was short and arrogant. "The AC is broken and the internet is glitching. Fix it ASAP. No apology, no acknowledgement." I archived it without responding. That evening, while his office descended into chaos, I sat in a quiet restaurant across the street, meeting with another company, a competitor. Their CEO, Michael Turner, listened carefully as I explained the situation in professional terms: available infrastructure capacity, immediate deployment, premium access. Within an hour, we had a signed agreement. I had just reassigned every advantage Ethan's company once had. By the next morning, the difference was dramatic. By Monday morning, their situation had reached a breaking music point. One floor thrived with fast systems and stable environments. The other struggled with overheating servers, failing connections, and growing desperation. When corporate lawyers finally called, their tone had shifted from authority to urgency. "We need to fix this," the attorney said. I leaned back in my chair. "The capacity has already been reassigned," I explained. "There is nothing to restore." Silence filled the line. By Monday morning, their situation had reached a breaking point. Employees could not even access the building due to expired security credentials. Systems had fully shut down to prevent damage. Operations had effectively stopped. Ethan finally sat across from me in a small, windowless conference room. The arrogance was gone. All that remained was desperation. "We will sign whatever you need," his father said. I placed the contract in front of them. "This is no longer available," I replied. They respected the systems they depended on, and more importantly, they respected the people behind them. The realization hit them slowly, then all at once. They had not just lost a negotiation, they had lost everything that made their business functional. Within weeks, they abandoned the floor. Within months, the competitor moved in, thriving in the very space that had once nearly collapsed. As for Ethan, I heard he was transferred to a smaller office far away, somewhere the infrastructure was far less forgiving. Months later, I stood once again in that same conference room, now filled with a team that understood something important. They respected the systems they depended on, and more importantly, they respected the people behind them. Because the truth is simple, power is not always loud. Sometimes it is quiet, hidden in wires, cooling systems, and unseen agreements. And when someone disrespects it, they do not hear it coming. They only feel it when everything stops working.